Today we got Gen Z protests are spreading around the world. Here's why. So I'm seeing Gen Z did the protests in Nepal. Now they're doing one in Madagascar, and now they're doing one in well, we'll see right now. I forget.
She captured the raw
Doing a couple
frustration of an
Madagascar,
entire
Nepal.
generation disillusioned with their government. And it's not just
In
in
Kenya.
Madagascar. The youth, angry at runaway corruption, economic uncertainty, or a host of other issues, have taken to
Shout
the
out Simon.
streets in protest. In Nepal, demonstrations against a social
In Nepal, we seen that. That shit was crazy.
media ban quickly turned into a wholesale revolution. In Kenya, they
They
rallied
They
against
try to ban social media. How you gonna ban social media? That's a free right.
an unpopular finance bill and police brutality. And in Ladakh, they agitated for
Yo, I stand with Gen Z. W.
greater constitutional safeguards and state
Keep fighting.
from India, which
Actually, I mean, I'm not saying to, like, spread violence, but, keep spreading your word, because I don't want them to,
has governed the region federally since 2019. In Madagascar, however, the protests were caused by something most people would take for granted: access to water and electricity. Madagascar
Access to water and electricity, bro, come on. They don't allow them water and electricity. That's a human right.
is one of Africa's poorest nations, with about 80% of its population living on less than $2.15 a day.
Dang, Madagascar living on $2.50. Damn.
The government recently implemented rolling cuts, which left millions in the dark and without water.
That's crazy. That's fucked.
In the capital, Antananarivo, these cuts meant that people could be without essential services for more than 12 hours, making
And then you got the politicians living like rich people.
the country's already precarious
Living like above their needs. While their people live poor.
situation a lot more precarious. The government's response followed a familiar playbook: heavy-handed force, curfews, tear gas, and mass detentions. When that quite predictably did not work, President Andrei Rajoelina announced that he was dissolving the government. Even this dramatic gesture has failed to assuage public anger. At the time of writing, protesters continue demanding his resignation, which, if it happens, would be quite ironic given that President Rajoelina first came to power through a wave of street protests that toppled
What?
his predecessor in 2009.
That's crazy.
But Madagascar is just one flashpoint in a wider wave of unrest that has stretched across the global south this year. And because that wave seems to already be rolling on to across Morocco, Peru, and other nations, now seems like the perfect time to ask, well, what's driving it? Where's it going to go next? And what does it mean for the global south?
And now a quick word from our sponsor.
Shout out the sponsors. What is driving the protest?
Now, perhaps the single most important factor driving these protests is demographics. Countries across the global south are experiencing a youth bulge, a phenomenon where a large share of the population is comprised
I'm kind of glad that the youth is finally realizing that these politicians keep fucking us over and keep putting us in debt and sending us 20 years back and making us work the minimum wage jobs for below living needs. All these people get to live above their needs, get to splurge, and get to buy all this shit, while you got people here living paycheck to paycheck, can't even fucking go out, fucking living at home, still gotta work every day. Come on, bro. Come on, bro. I'm like, come on, bro. Come on. This is so stupid.
of children and young adults. According to Justin Lin, former chief economist of the World Bank, the youth bulge commonly happens
I'm finally glad that they're doing something about it. Trying.
in developing countries after the state successfully reduces infant mortality rates while mothers still maintain a high fertility rate. In theory, a youth bulge should be a good thing. As more young people enter the workforce, the country's dependency ratio, that is, the ratio of the non-working age population to the working age population, will decline. If these young people can be fully employed in productive activities, the country's economy should boom. Given all the demographic doomerism in places like Europe and the United
Us young people, we gotta rise up against these old people that are still in power and making the same still fucking stupid ass regulations that keep putting us at the bottom. Tired of that shit, bro. These same people that are politicians are like 80. They can't even fucking read a book without getting their... Come on, bro. This is so ridiculous. I'm tired of this shit. Like, our young people should be empowered We have the brightest minds, while these fucking old people have the dullest minds. They think so like old-fashioned. They never are open to any new ideas. Like, come on, bro.
United States, this seems like a pretty good problem to have.
And then you got the same people in the same position for 20 years plus. How does that make any sense? These guys are like 89 now. About to go to 90. Still at the same place. Making 100K. Come on, man. Why you got people fucking 20 years old with 2 babies making fucking $20 an hour? Gas is $10. Food is $10. You know what? Come on.
But
Stupid.
there are potential downsides. If all of those young people can't find employment, a situation that is becoming increasingly common across the world,
It is. And employment's getting even harder and harder, and it's only going to get harder because AI. You got AI coming, and AI doesn't need no diplomas. AI doesn't need no college education. AI doesn't need no experience. But you, as a person, you need experience. You need a college diploma. You need to go to school for 5 years plus, and even maybe you'll have a chance for this job that you're going for. Maybe, just maybe. And you still have to go against the computer that you're learning from. How does that make any fucking sense? These people are so fucking stupid.
then it tends to no longer be the economy that goes.
That's why you gotta, like now, right now as we live, you gotta pick up a job. You gotta pick up a skill now. You can't even work these minimum jobs because if you do, you're poor. You're broke. There ain't no way you're living. There ain't no way.
But the entire nation. Exacerbating the
And
unemployment
that's
issue.
even here in the United States. So imagine the other countries where they're fighting, they're protesting, it's even worse.
Is the fact that more young people than ever before are getting access to higher education. However, a degree no longer guarantees a job, let alone a.
That's what I said. That's what I said. The degree doesn't guarantee you that position. It only guarantees you that level of education. and let's not even talk about how much money you have to put to get that degree. So you're still in debt and you don't even have a job. You just have that piece of paper that says, "Yep, here you go. You're qualified. Here it is. You're qualified, sir. You are qualified." But it doesn't guarantee you the job. You still have to go against the AI. You still have to go against the computer. So, do with that what you will.
Stable career because
So fucking backwards this world. They should be using the computer, the AI, to teach people and the people to fucking work on the AI and do diplomas to develop better AI, not the AI taking over these jobs and these basic level jobs that people need. Like, it's
these economies have not grown fast enough to absorb the influx of graduates. Not to state the obvious, but this is a really big problem. Santosh,
a very big problem.
a young man from Nepal, put it this way. There is a big problem with jobs here. Even after getting a degree, people don't find work, so they
See, even there is a big problem with jobs here. Even after getting a degree, people don't find work. That's here too.
have to go abroad, and those that do only earn 100 to 150 euros a month.
And that's not even enough to pay off your college debt. Come on, man.
That's not enough to live on. According to Dr. Richard W. Frank, a senior lecturer at the Australian National University, this
And the fact that the youth thinks that we have to have $600,000 a year, we have to be making $600,000 a year to even compete is crazy. Like obviously we think like that because of how much everything's increased such fastly. Like, come
disconnect
on.
between expectation and reality can push youth towards more radical forms of dissent. He warns that young people
And then it's not fair for us because the baby boomers, they put us behind. The stock market crash wasn't our fault. And the way it's on ours is when they printed that money, it has to get paid back at some point. And the way it's getting paid back is by fucking us over. But that's another conversation.
who can't secure employment have a lower opportunity cost for engaging in risky behavior. When they don't feel like they have a stake in the system, they become more willing to challenge it, sometimes violently so. Now, this is also true of much of the West, where the number of people holding degrees has far outstripped the number of well-paid graduate jobs.
Exactly.
But what makes these grievances even more pronounced in countries like Morocco, Peru, or Madagascar is how visible economic inequality has begun. And not just inequality, but also rampant elite corruption. In Nepal, while ordinary citizens were trying to make ends meet, Sahagat Thapa, the son of politician Bindu Thapa, posted a picture of himself.
Yep. You got people posting pictures like this while you're living like a bro, while you barely can even afford to buy a piece of bread. You got people living with a tree of Cartier, Louis Vuitton, Gucci, another Louis.
In front of a Christmas tree made of over 30
Bro, just
luxury
spitting
gift
on you.
boxes from brands like
He's literally just fucking
Cartier, Louis Vuitton, and Gucci. This angered the youth so much that they took to
Hell
social
yeah.
media using the hashtags
That's so stupid. That's not
Nepo Kids and
Nepo kids,
Babies to
Nepo
criticize
baby.
is what they saw as the extravagance of a corrupt class shielded from the
true.
daily struggles faced by the average Nepali.
It's
In
true.
Kenya, while the government was preaching austerity to try and curb the country's debt crisis, President William Ruto and his close ally, Cabinet Secretary Kipchumba
You got them
Murkomen,
taking
were
private
seen wearing
vacations.
designer shirts and watches
Designer
worth
shirts.
thousands of dollars. In Indonesia, parliamentarians voted to give themselves a monthly housing allowance of 50 million
50 million.
in rupiah, that's approximately $3,000, in addition to their salaries, a sum almost 10 times the Jakarta minimum wage.
Damn.
The backlash isn't just about the opulence being displayed by public
It's good that the world's finally waking up. It's the USA's turn to wake up. Y'all need to wake up. Here in the United States, we need to wake up.
officials and their
But we ain't gonna wake up.
families, though. It's about what those images represent in societies already weighed down by economic hardships. When leaders tell citizens to tighten their belts but are photographed in designer clothes or block public roads for hours to celebrate the wedding of a politician's daughter, the gap becomes pretty impossible to ignore. For young people struggling to simply survive, it is a blatant provocation. And it's here that we get to the key difference between the protests we're covering in this video and other recent protests that have taken place in countries like France and Britain. In the West, inequality and elite corruption can be enraging, but it is rare for governments to take decisions that could leave you literally unable to feed your family and then openly laugh about it. Never forget that one Indonesian MP who called those protesting against his exorbitant lifestyle, quote, the dumbest people in the world. This is why some countries, like China, have started cracking down on ostentatious displays of wealth, fearing the social unrest that they might trigger. But it's not just the inequality itself.
I know, it's in China too. That's why people in China are not having kids. Our Gen Z, we know that if we have kids, ain't no way we're gonna make it. Ain't no way. If we're barely getting by, what makes you think bringing a kid is gonna make us get by better? Come on, man.
That's unique to this time period and these protests. Now, there's also another factor. One that's become
And when I say these people, I keep talking about these politicians are stupid. Like, these politicians be so fucking ignorant. Like, oh my god, they're so old.
embedded in all our lives over the last 15 years or so, one that today is ubiquitous even in poor nations like Madagascar. We're talking, of course, about social media.
Social media is a W. That's how we connect with the whole world. W.
Although the governments of the global south don't have the same tools to control the internet as China, they have still attempted to force it to do their bidding. The Kenyan government passed the Computer Misuse and Cybercrimes Bill, while in Indonesia the state has the Electronic Transaction and Information Law. Critics see both as attempts to stifle
Shout out
speech on
Indonesia.
social media. But
Shout out
we should
Morocco.
be fair
Shout out
and point
Nepal.
out that
Shout
the
out.
governments insist they are necessary to safeguard national security.
Shout out Gen Z.
Laws like these, regardless of where they are passed, often underestimate the importance of the internet to young people. Quoting Dr. Nayana Prakash, a research fellow at Chatham House, there's been a sort of trivializing of what social media can mean to young people, both in this protest and across the world. Social media isn't just a way that we chat with our friends, it's a way that we feel connected to any kind of network in society, both locally and globally. Gen Z is the first generation
Yo, shout out TikTok.
to grow up with widespread access to the
I
internet.
feel like everybody in the world got TikTok now.
And for them, it's more than just a source of entertainment and intriguing documentaries presented by knowledgeable bald men. It's a tool that they use to learn, connect with their communities.
I love it.
I am very bald. to connect with their communities and make a living and hold those in power accountable. Young people across the world have taken to posting content satirizing their governments whenever they feel unheard, mocking politicians through
JD Vance.
nicknames, memes, and parody videos. When satire failed,
No way.
mocking
A tourist says he was deported over a JD Vance meme.
politicians through nicknames, memes, and parody videos. When satire fails to change things, internet platforms can quickly transform into protest headquarters. Encrypted messaging apps like WhatsApp and Telegram become command centers for coordinating protesters, while social platforms like TikTok and Instagram turn into broadcast stations to live stream police brutality. Protesters in Kenya and Indonesia used these apps
Shout out Kenya.
extensively when they recorded the deaths of Boniface Karuki
Kenya.
and Afan Kuranawan at the hands of the police. Those videos became rallying cries that mobilized thousands more to take to the streets. More importantly, the internet allows ideas to spread, not just within countries, but all over the world. This is the key point that we really want to hammer home here.
Rise up.
2025 hasn't been a summer of youth protests just because governments this year have been particularly shitty. It's also because
Real,
the images
governments have been shitty this.
of protest from one nation can galvanize young people in another or even give them practical advice. Protest
Us young people, we need to make the rules, bro. We deserve to make these rules. I'm tired of this old people shit, like deciding what we gotta go through and what we know that we should deserve. Like, come on, bro. Like, they should at least elect one young person to speak for all of us in each country, and we can go to him for like anything, go to his representatives and stuff like that. Cause like this shit is getting ridiculous. Like, come on, it's getting ridiculous. Like, these old people do not know what everyday teenagers or even like the regular 28, 30 years old people go through an everyday basis. Like, they don't. They just are so rich and so oblivious to the fact that what the real world is going through. Like, come on.
across the world now share ideas on everything from mobilization to something as practical as how to handle tear gas. Nothing illustrates this global exchange better than the appearance of a flag from the anime One Piece at protest.
I know, I've been seeing that a lot.
across
They
the-
got the anime One Piece flag. That's their Revolution Mark flag. Shout out High Show Speed. I feel like High Show Speed made that way more popular. High Show Speed made Ronaldo popular, and High Show Speed made One Piece like out the moon popular. I feel like everybody loves One. I mean, it was already popular. Don't get me wrong. To all you One Piece fans, I'm sorry, but I feel like High Show Speed put that shit on the global market.
World from Jakarta to Paris and Antananarivo. Dr. Subir Sinha, a scholar at the School of Oriental and African Studies in London,
Like, every
told
time I see One Piece, I just think of Speed.
France 24 that the flag has been given new meaning by the protesters, elevating it from a cartoon emblem into a political symbol.
Yep, to a political symbol. That's
Quoting
dope.
here, well, all of these movements basically have rallied around this anime figure, and they've given it a new meaning. That somehow this stands for freedom, it stands for liberty, it stands against corruption, it stands against the elite.
W. I like that.
Youth's collective anger at the system they see as only working for the elites, now represented by the flag of the Straw Hat Pirates, has allowed the protests to become, in Dr. Sinha's words, a contagion, or to use terminology better suited to the internet, a meme. However,
A
the most
meme.
important idea spreading across borders isn't a tactic or a symbol. It's the fundamental realization that governments are neither infallible nor invincible. Every live-streamed protest, every time a government building is breached, every time a government acquiesces to protesters' demands, it is proof that the status quo can be challenged. And that inspires copycats. There's a reason why so many of this year's protests have echoes of others. Why
It's good though. I mean, I'm honestly happy that our generation is actually doing something.
Nepal's parliament went up
Whether you agree on it or not, or whether it's like this, dangerous or not. I mean, at the end of the day, who's gonna do something about it? Because these people aren't gonna, the politicians aren't gonna do nothing about it. They're just gonna continue on what they do.
flames just as
It's the people that have to do something about it.
Kenyans did in 2024, why the homes of Nepali politicians were ransacked and burned as they had been in India.
Okay, that's crazy. See, like, shit like that I kind of don't agree with. That's a little wild. And then how they kidnapped their politicians, that was wild. Shit like that, I mean, I don't agree with. But, fuck. I mean, fuck.
Leisure just weeks earlier, why the protesters
I
in
bet YouTube, you cannot say fudge no more.
Morocco have organized themselves in the same way as those in Madagascar or Peru. Yet copycat doesn't mean identical. Because while some have already started talking about an Asian Spring, the fact is that Nepal's revolution is an outlier. In most other nations hit by the Gen Z protests, governments are still standing, and in some, they've become even more entrenched.
Deferring outcomes.
Although these protests share a common DNA, their outcomes have differed significantly depending on factors such as how the political elite reacts and how organized the youth are. Some have led to tangible political change, while others have fizzled out, underscoring the fact that copying a protest doesn't guarantee the same result.
True.
In Kenya, after sustained protests against
But at least it gives you some, like, inspiration and some motivation to rise up.
2024
Even if it doesn't mean anything, I mean, shit.
finance bill, President William
You're doing something about it, in my
Ruto
opinion.
withdrew it, conceding to one of the protesters' central demands. He went even further, dissolving his cabinet and promising major reforms. However, that's where the momentum stopped. Within weeks, he had reached out to the opposition to shore up his government through a coalition-type arrangement known as the Broad-Based Government. Then he rehired many of his old ministers, and those he didn't retain were rewarded with cushy positions, often as ambassadors, to ensure their loyalty. And the finance bill? Well, according to National Assembly Majority, perfect strategy.
Alright,
Long-term
I'm getting
competition between the us and pig haven't stopped there, particularly to take responsibility for the violence, signaling that the end was near.
RIP to all the protesters that died fighting for their freedom. RIP to y'all. Legends.
Nepalese youth took advantage of a fractured political class to not only remove an unpopular government, but to also get an interim government sympathetic to their cause appointed. And they haven't stopped there. Led by Sudan Garang, a 36-year-old former DD, and could be leaning towards the Kenya model after the president dissolved the government but still retained his power. But this is
Alright, here we go.
protests would
These
hit
protests.
Nigeria, Bangladesh, and Spain. To be clear, these were always only informed estimates, a product of us looking at the factors in Indonesia, Nepal, and Kenya and seeing where else might have a similar mix of potential triggers. Still, we managed to completely miss the nations with a similar mix that subsequently did erupt, Madagascar and Morocco. The latter of which
Shout out Morocco.
has been caused by growing dissatisfaction with the vast sums being spent towards preparation for the 2030 World Cup, while the country's social services like education continue to be underfunded.
Okay, that I do not agree with. Why the fuck are they worried about the World Cup in 2030 rather than their fucking people's education? That shit is stupid. Come on, man. Y'all rather fund the FIFA World Cup than your own people education. You do realize that the kids are kings in the chess and pawn in life. And if you don't educate your kings, what are you really doing? Like, come on, bro. Like, the world, what are y'all doing, bro? Y'all doing? This is what I'm talking about. These boomers need to get the fuck up out of here.
The crystal ball that we often refer to, I'm afraid it's still not working. However, what was true then and still is true now is that protests like these are likely to blow up wherever the youth are pissed off at corruption and lack of opportunities.
True.
And as recent events have proven, that can be almost anywhere. So instead of asking which country will be next, let's look at what countries in the global south can do to preempt these protests, because while unexpected, they are not inevitable. According to Justin Lin, the former World Bank economist that we quoted earlier, the first and most obvious solution is job creation. Governments
Yeah, governments need to create better jobs and more opportunities for people that don't have education or don't want to get an education after high school or even before high school. There needs to be jobs where you can make a good minimum wage and a good wage where you can live off. It's not fair. That's not fair. That is, in my opinion, that is not fair. Just because this person goes to school for X amount of years, that means he can feed his family, and I'm not gonna be able to feed mine. Come on, bro. It should not be like that. It should not be like that. If this person wants to go to school, let them go to school, but let them make more money, let me make a good amount of money too for the people that don't go to school. Come on, make it even, somewhat even. Come on, this is ridiculous. This is getting too out of hand. Way too out of hand. Oh, no.
Need to move beyond campaign rhetoric and actually create employment opportunities that match the qualifications of their educated youth. This means investing in industries that can absorb large numbers of workers, supporting entrepreneurship through accessible credit and reduced red tape, and partnering with the private sector to align educational curricula with market needs. But jobs alone aren't going to solve the problem.
Nope.
Governments must actively tackle corruption, and when
Corruption, and they need to tackle the tax.
we say actively, we really mean it. Launching performative anti-corruption campaigns that only target political opponents while your allies are building Christmas trees of Gucci boxes isn't going to cut it anymore. This is already happening in Nepal, where Om Prakash Aral, Prime Minister Karki's choice for Home Minister, announced that all the corruption cases that had been stopped because of political influence would be reopened. Finally, governments need to create official channels for young people to voice their concerns.
That's what I said. That's what I said. That's exactly what I said. They need to create places or like people where if the young people have something to say or have a problem with how the world is working, like how it's like a real problem, they can go to this person. This person is actually going to do something about it, and go to another person to talk about it. Like, they need to create a system like that. That should be automatic. Like, automatic. Like, come on, man. Just because we're young, it doesn't mean we're fucking stupid. Like, come on, bro. We know what the fuck is going on. Like, obviously, come on. This is so... It all collapsed here when the workforce of the unions disappeared. When they took the union force, that fucked us up bad, in my opinion. And you can thank Ronald Reagan for that. For y'all people that like Ronald Reagan, there you go. The Reaganomics. Y'all love Ronald Reagan. Everybody loves Ronald Reagan. Everywhere I go, some reason y'all love Ronald Reagan so much. But if you really look at his policies and really look at what he did for the world, he fucked the middle class up the ass. And he made the rich even richer. And y'all want to say, Ronald Reagan, one of our greatest presidents. That's why you're fucking stuck where you're at. Like, you're not anywhere far. Like, it's just crazy to me. It's just crazy to me. Like, I'll never forget when this one person said Ronald Reagan was good for us, and he's living a minimum wage job. He doesn't have a house. Like, that's why you don't have a house. That's why. Because of Ronald Reagan. And all these politicians that are fucking billionaires and do these laws that benefit them and fuck the middle class and the poor. But y'all like them, so maybe not hate.
And here's the crucial bit. They need...
For some reason, the middle class loves getting fucked. But it's now that we're waking up, barely. It's barely right now. Us Gen Zers waking up. For some reason, I don't know what happened. We're waking up and we're realizing that we're getting fucked by the old people. But earlier, y'all like getting fucked. We like getting fucked. We loved it.
Actually fucking listen to them. And look, we're just YouTubers. We can't guarantee that governments will prevent all protests by following our advice. But
and I feel like I haven't seen no YouTuber talk about this at all. At all. The Gen Z protests, I have not seen not one YouTuber cover this at all. I've seen like one video, and then they covered it when in Nepal, and that was it. I haven't seen nobody cover this. What's up with y'all, Gen Z? Come on, man. Voice your opinions, YouTubers. Come on. Y'all were voicing your opinions when Trump was here. Aiden Ross. Theo Vaughn. All these comedians were voicing their opinion about Trump. Why don't y'all voice your opinion about something that actually matters in this world? Like this, the Gen Z protests. It's because you guys are not getting paid. I forgot.
We can say with absolute certainty that ignoring these issues is only going to make things worse. And 2025 seems to be a year in which protests are the new big thing among the youth.
I'm glad. Like, comment, subscribe, Grinder, keep your new email. Shout out Gen Z. Whoop.
Bye, have a great time.